und der Türkei. Und es hat wieder zu Beginn Frau Vizepräsidentin, Hohe Repräsentantin Federica Mogherini das Wort.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, we gather here to discuss Turkey, and rightly so. I see that we have the group leaders, most of them present here in the hemicycle. Our relationship with Turkey is at a crossroad because Turkey itself is at a crossroad. On the night of July 15th, we discussed it in September, I remember very well. During the attempted coup d'etat, we stood on the side of Turkey's democracy and of the democratic institutions. We stood on the side of the Turkish people, who took on the streets and confronted the tanks bravely. We stood on the side of the over 200 innocents who were shot down that night. We stood on the side of the parliament as it was being bombed, and of the Turkish parties, all of them that spoke against the coup and in support of democracy, all of them. We supported the Turkish democracy on July the 15th, and it is exactly the Turkish democracy we support today as we see the leaders of the People's Democratic Party, a legitimate party in the Turkish parliament, arrested and imprisoned. The arrest of the co-chairs of HDP, as well as the detention of several of its deputies, adds to a long list of extremely worrying developments. These include considerations to reinstate the death penalty, continued restrictions on the freedom of expression, the closure of media outlets and arrests of journalists, academics, the suspension of thousands of civil servants, with a very worrying situation for the judicial system. We have always been clear that the Turkish authorities have a legitimate right to hold the perpetrators of the coup and of terrorist attacks accountable for their actions. We have also called on all political parties to unequivocally condemn terrorist violence. At the same time, we know that the respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms is the strongest antidote to extremism and terrorism. Any allegation of wrongdoing must be established via transparent procedures in all individual cases. Individual criminal liability can only be established with full respect for the separation of powers, the independence of the judiciary, and the right of every individual to a fair trial. These are positions we all agreed on in the Foreign Affairs Council just 1 week ago on Monday. And all foreign ministers have agreed on the importance to maintain a unified and clear European Union position in line with our declaration on behalf of all 28 member states issued earlier on in November. Our relations with Turkey have reached a crucial point. I believe the best way to strengthening Turkey's democracy, the most effective way, is by engaging with Turkey, by keeping channels open. The accession process has achieved important results in many fields, from the energy sector to both our economies and businesses, to the talks on Cyprus. And let me stress today how important talks on Cyprus are for us all. Turkey seems to be heading towards constitutional reform, and I would like to stress that this reform should serve as a platform to strengthen checks and balances, strengthen participatory democracy, and to address the Kurdish issue effectively. As we have made it clear on many occasions, the European Union stands ready to fully support the country to achieve these goals. The work goes on, and I have recently met with Turkey's Europe Minister Omar Çelik, but also with the Secretary General of the Council of Europe, Jagland, because cooperation with the Council of Europe is particularly important, and I really hope Turkey will address the concerns of the Council's Commissioners for Human Rights. What is crucial in the short term is a swift, fair and independent domestic redress mechanism to be in place. Failing this, we're going to see a flood of cases in front of the European Court of Human Rights, and I know talks are ongoing with the Council of Europe, of which Turkey is a member, to address this issue. I hope this work will bring results. There is much the European Union and Turkey can do together, starting, as I said, from Cyprus, but also on our fight against terrorism, on our economies, our businesses, on refugees, on the future of Syria we just discussed, or for the stability of the Caucasus. And in all these fields, we both need constant reciprocal dialogue. I always say that foreign policy is about building win-win solutions. If the accession process came to an end, I believe we would both find ourselves in a lose-lose scenario. Europe would lose an important channel for dialogue and leverage with Turkey. Turkey would lose a lot. And we would all lose an opportunity for greater friendship and cooperation among our peoples. In this spirit, we should also ask ourselves which tools and which instruments we have at our disposal in order to increase and not to reduce our leverage on Turkey's reforms and on its society as a whole. In order to do so, we need full clarity from our Turkish partners, indeed, on what they want. In that regard, it's clear that moving from rhetoric to action on the issue of the death penalty would be a signal that Turkey does not want to be a member of the European family, neither a member of the Council of Europe, which it is now, nor of the European Union. Membership means, first of all, sharing the values Europe stands for, and capital punishment is for sure not one of them. Well, good to see that at least here in our chamber we do. Some say that Turkey has to choose between the West and the East. Personally, I do not agree. Turkey can and should stay true to its nature as a bridge between worlds and cultures. But if Turkey moves further away from our European Union and from democracy, it would lose part of its own heritage, of its own identity, of its own culture, and also of its own power. This would be in no one's interest, and certainly not in the interest of the Turkish people, all of them. The last time I was in Turkey, we all agreed that we need to talk more to each other, which we are doing, and a little bit less about each other. Sometimes we're doing. This is the attitude we need, I believe, both on the part of the Turkish government and inside our union. So we're looking forward to hearing your views. Both me and Commissioner Hahn will be listening carefully, very carefully, to your interventions. And again, let me thank you all, and especially, as I said, noticing the presence of so many group leaders, for a debate that I believe will be essential to shape the future of our relations with Turkey. Thank you.
Vielen Dank, Frau Mogherini. Und der erste Redner für die Fraktionen ist nun Herr Manfred Weber für die EVP-Fraktion.